Hey guys, Mike here. So another fun red day in the market, very volatile, and like we talked about in yesterday's video, might get to see a little bit of what you saw last week with last minute tax loss harvesting and stuff. And even one of the members said, I don't really know the answer to this, maybe you do, where you have to sell today if you want to for it to count because it has to settle, so you couldn't be selling tomorrow to do that. Let me know if you know the answer to that. I really do not. And let me know if you also partook in some tax loss harvesting today. And so again, big move down. And then, of course, we had big bounce back up. I'll show you actually what started the big bounce back up and what stopped the move when it started coming up. And we'll go through the SPY, the QQQ, IWM, as well as a couple other charts to watch out for. But I will say this, and it was very strange today because the yields plummeted overnight. And to see the markets go down with them, that was unique. We normally have not seen that lately. But I'll tell you this, man, I cannot wait to see how the new administration handles this mess right here, and that is the annual interest payments. They have now eclipsed $1 trillion, you can see right there, and that's huge, man, because you go back here, you look from the 90s, even going to like 2018, they were going up, but nowhere near like this. I mean, this is just straight up, and you're thinking to yourself like, I mean, how sustainable is this? Because you got trillions of dollars in government debt coming due this year. And so, you know, and that's why I think you're seeing the 30-year, obviously, interest rate run up because people are like, look, man, if I'm taking on this debt at this level, I want more bang for my buck, right? And when you come over here, I'll show it to you if you ever look at the debt clock, and I'll zoom on this for you. But this right here, the U.S. interest payments have now eclipsed what we spend on national defense, and it's going to eclipse Social Security in probably maybe 5 months. It's at the very top. Can you see it? The rights, the interest on the debt. Then there's national defense. We've eclipsed it. Social Security. And then Medicare is our biggest payment, our biggest debt. And so I cannot wait to see what they do with this one. But when you look at the bond market, you know, look, spreads, of course, are coming up a little bit. When I say coming up a little bit, though, you got to take this into context. When we zoom out, remember, these are things that are at records lows. I mean, we've only been in this area right here a couple times. One was 07, one was right before the dot-com bubble. It's like 97 through like 2000. And what you're looking for in these is for spreads to blow out. That's when bad things happen. We ain't even hit that trend line right now, but you can see whenever there's a trend line and it's almost like a bullfight, right? And when it breaks it, you get these big explosions. When that happens, then really bad things, right, start to happen in the market. And you go over to the volatility, you can see every time we come in this shaded area over the last 2 years, volatility's calmed down. All right. Are we heading back up there again? That's what we got to see. And you go to a weekly again. When you see volatility, it's like the VIX for the bond market, right? When you see that happen, that means the stock market is going, see you later, baby. And it's going down quickly, okay? Because remember, everything's about the bond market. The bond market is 3 times the size of the stock market at least. And so without the bond market, there is no stock market. That's just the way it is. So this is what you want to watch. If you or anybody else thinks, oh, man, we're definitely going to have a correction this year, that's what you want to be watching. But again, HYG, I told you about this trend line. We did come back down and test it. I believe this is a daily chart. We tested it 4 days ago and bounced. We did not break it. And that's very important because this is the junk bond market, right? So as long as junk bonds are good, hey, if we break it, we're definitely coming down there between 74, 75, maybe worse. And if you pull, I suggest you pull HYG chart up and look out and go back to like 08 and 2018 and 2020. And you'll see what I'm basically referring to. Now, when it comes to the SPY, you can see another gap down today. And what happened was the 50 and the anchor VWAP from FOMC saved us the other day. It did not today. And it also acted as a resistance. When we bounced, we came up to it, and we got slapped down from both of them. Okay, so this, again, is resistance now. Once again, was support multiple times last week after being resistant. So we got to get above that. The best thing to happen, which means it probably won't happen, folks, is to come down and feel that freaking election day gap. And the reason why I say that, because you know I love my confluence, right? Confluence just means there's a bunch of different things happening right there that would give you support or resistance. In this case, it's going to be support. And in that, what you would have is you would have the 100 moving average, you would have a gap fill, you would have horizontal support, as you can see, and you would be coming down right at the 0.79 fib, so in a major discount area. And so that will be perfect, which means that's why it will not happen. But if it does come down that gap, a lot of confluence there for that bounce. I'd rather just go ahead and happen early on and then try to run us up into like inauguration and things of that nature. That would be nice. That would be a total, I think, like 5.5% down from the top right there. So, that's what I'd like to see. Probably ain't going to happen though. Just because when you look at this, what do you see in forming? Well, guess what? We did not set a lower low, right? And so I'm going to put a trend line here. It gives us 3 touches, 1, 2, 3. And we're going to see if that's going to hold up, and we're going to start to move up starting in 2025 as tax loss harvesting is done, all that fun stuff. And we start to run up into Trump's inauguration. But of course, to do that, first thing we got to do, get past the 50 moving average, get past that FOMC anchor VWAP first, and then see if we can get to the 0.236 fib. So right around the 594 area is what you want to be watching on SPY right there for sure. And then, of course, getting above 595 would be awesome. And if this thing starts to rip, obviously these gaps are going to fill very, very quickly. We've seen it many, many, many times before. And when you go over to the Qs, you see clearly there is a lower high, but there was not the lower low. Okay, so we did not set a lower low on this. It bounced the 0.79 fib exactly. Golden pocket held up, still in the big discount, but it is below the FOMC anchor VWAP. Their moving averages on the QQQ, though, are actually below it. And so there's another one. You want to see 520 get broken, retested, and held. And then that gap around 528 is going to get filled on the Qs. If we break, obviously the 0.79 fib, which is around like 508.50, I believe it is, or 509, then obviously maybe this one will come down and fill the election gap. But again, we're gonna have to see on this one. When you go over to IWM, this was a rough one this morning, even though it was actually holding up better than the rest of them, which was crazy because again, the 10-year yield was down big time. What happened though? It came down in the shade area, which we discussed in Sunday's video. It's been support multiple times, and it bounced once again, got back up in this channel. But what really saved this one wasn't IWM, it was the futures. And when you come over here, I'm going to show you what you got here. I'm going to bring up these moving averages, and then we'll come on over here, and you can bring up RTY, which is the future for the Russell, or you can bring up M2K, which is the minis, and you can see right there. Came down that 200, major discount, bounced once, bounced twice, causes slingshot effect up. And so, again, that's what it saved this one today, is what saved the Russell. That's why it performed better, I think, than all the rest of them, especially with the yields down. And you can see it right there. It just kept bouncing and bouncing and bouncing. So good risk reward on that one right there. Got above its 6 p.m. opening anchor VWAP right there. But we did not reach above the FOMC anchor VWAP. That's sitting at another also fib level if you look at that right there. And so this one still looks rough as can be. We'll see if this is finally going to be the bottom for IWM. That's what we got to find out when we go back over to it. You can see this area right here, man. I mean, 226, but anywhere between 222 and 226, it is tough. And that's why I say if you can get through that, if it gets through 226.12, it can absolutely fly. There's no doubt about it because there's not that much resistance up there, if any. And so, but you can see, and I'll pull a line right here. There's the 221.89. So 222, 226. It's just a brutal area for IWM. It has been for like 3 years now. And so it hadn't been able to hold above it anytime it gets above it. So that's what you're looking for. If you're looking for any upside on IWM, it's got to get through 226.12. Now, looking at Tesla, it finally broke what? This trend line we talked about. It goes back to the election day. Right there, it kept bouncing and bouncing and bouncing and bouncing. Here we go, here we go. Finally broke it today, came down. Still, though, this thing has still not done a 0.50 fib retracement yet. Still hadn't done it. And that's not even pulling all the way down to the bottom, right? That's pulling anywhere I can find support on this thing from a swing low to a swing high. And when you look at this thing, so I put around 407 right there, as you can see, still hadn't got down there. But to break that trend line says something. And don't forget, they got deliveries coming out. I believe one of the members told me it was Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. That's at least what they're telling us. And so, and when I talked about this, when I said if it starts to come down, there's really not any support. You look to the right and see it. There's really not a whole bunch of support there. And so right below where we're at now is the previous all-time high. But when you pull up a volume profile, whether it's on a weekly, whether it's on a daily, it doesn't even really matter. I mean, let me take this thing over to a daily and see if I can find anything, any kind of tree limbs, as I like to call them, to the right. And not a whole bunch there. Okay, and so if they decide to start rotating into something else, okay, and taking a break from Tesla, because remember we talked about this isn't fundamental, this isn't increased revenues and all this crazy mess. This is simply Elon's in the room. Elon gave a lot of money, and now he's got the president's voice, which is very powerful. And so, that's a big thing. And so that's been this crazy move up. But when you look at it, I mean, right now on the daily, that is a lower high right there, right? So it's a high, a low, a lower high, but we did not set the lower low. So if we come down that 0.5 fib, that is a lower low right now. And as we talked about, I don't, I'm finna show you NVIDIA's chart. They just will not let this thing above 140. But if it gets above 140 and starts going, maybe some of that money comes from Tesla. That's what we got to check out. Again, they could blow out deliveries, and next thing you know, boom, here we go. Call sweeps rolling in. We've seen it so many times before, right? These kind of fake outs with this one. But again, it's just one of those things. We're starting to end the year right here. Everything's showing a lot of weakness, not just Tesla. Okay, it's not just Tesla. I can tell you that right now. And I'm going to show you another chart to watch out for when it comes to software, because a lot of those stocks are starting to show some weakness as well. But when you come over to NVIDIA, what we talk about, they just won't let it above 140. It gets up there, boom, rejected again. But it held, it's kind of just jammed right in here between like 135, 140, right? So it keeps going back and forth. RSI is above the 50 area, so that's good. MACD is not above 0 though, right? So the bulls are still not in charge of this right here. If they can get the MACD above 0, then on the daily, that's going to be looking good. And what you're looking for is say, okay, there's a low, there's a high. Maybe we can curve up here, set a higher and low, and start moving up. That's what we're looking at. Will they finally let this thing out? Because, I know SMA, especially SOX, SOXX, got destroyed today, down like 6%, because all the other semiconductors look like crap, basically. Avigo's trying to hold up. Taiwan Semiconductor's trying to hold up. MU's a mess. AMD. You would think they'd let that thing bottom at some point in time, but not quite yet, right, as we go through this volatility. But IGB, that is the ETF for the software sector, one of them. You can see a head and shoulders on this thing playing out. We'll see. It's right at the neckline. It's bounced, and so we'll see if it's going to break. You see there's been head and shoulders before, and head and shoulders is one I don't really like that much, but when you look at this, you're like, okay, there's the neckline. So if it breaks 99.91, watch out below, because you see how it moved up? See the gaps right there? And if the market continues to want to sell off starting the year, beginning of the year that is, then this one's probably going to get hit. So watch out for that one, because a lot of these stocks are starting to show weakness, as you can see right here. Now, when it comes to data, don't worry about anything tomorrow. There's a couple of things. I wouldn't sweat it too much. It is a full day. Wednesday, though, we are closed. So you will not hear from me on Wednesday. I'll do a video on Tuesday. I'm going to take Wednesday off, enjoy, and I'll probably be hungover. So we'll go to our neighbors and party it up as best we can at our age. Let me know what you're doing for that. And then I'll be back on Thursday. So put any questions you have for Saturday's video as well. Please hit that like and subscribe button, guys. We appreciate all you guys. In case you're not watching tomorrow night's video, I hope you have a wonderful New Year's. If not, I will wish you a New Year's tomorrow. And let me know any of your kind of New Year's resolutions, guys. All right? So have a good one.